Yeah.
All right. We want to talk about Roku, and we know you've been a big advocate, big bull for Roku. I believe it was your largest holding for a while. I think you mentioned that on the 7 Investing show, right?
Roku, Zoom, and NVIDIA are the 3 largest. Yeah.
So we're big fans of the business as well. And instead of just giving each other confirmation bias, we thought it might be fun to play devil's advocate. And
Sure.
I actually took to Twitter and looked for some of the sort of bear theses, what could go wrong scenarios. And so we've drafted up a few, and we'll let you sort of refute these. I'll go first. The first one is that connected TV is really just a commodity business, so Roku has no real competitive advantage.
Yeah, so I think they're probably referring to the devices at that point because, like the smart TV, because Roku is actually an ad exchange. So it's an ad platform. So the whole point is, you're reaching audiences and you're going to monetize those audiences through ads. And so it doesn't matter if it's your mobile phone, your tablet, your smart TV, if it's a separate set-top box, Roku's going to capture every audience it possibly can that's streaming OTT. So in that way, an ad platform is not a commodity.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I do think a lot of people, they did focus on the hardware when it came out because that's what it feels like. It was just a hardware business, but people don't realize when you just look, you just got to look at the income statement and
it's right there.
It's right there. They make all their money on advertising. But I'll get into the next one here. A lot of people say because Roku competes with big tech will be able to sell their TVs and hardware for next to nothing and enter the market and compete with them. This leaves the competition and Roku obsolete. They're just going to drive down the margins.
Yeah, I think that we already see Roku selling their hardware next to nothing and letting it impact their margins. And they're doing that in order to, become as ubiquitous as possible while the window is open. So we're dealing with a massive market. I think people confuse subscription video on demand with ad video on demand. So Netflix has been around for a long time.
Right.
Ad video on demand has not. And we know that because pay TV dollars, which is truly the market underneath the hardware, is the pay TV dollars, the people that pay, NBC and the football, CBS and NBC and ABC, those Budweiser, Geico, Pizza Hut, all that stuff, those big brand dollars. Yeah. So we know that it's a very nascent market because pay TV ad dollars have not migrated. So, and in general, we still have a lot of problems over live sports OTT, really strong live news options, things like that. It's a very, very new market. So when it comes to the big tech giants, Amazon and Google are both trying to enter that market, or they've entered the market, and they're trying to compete very, head to head with Roku. Right now, Roku is the number one. So the question is probably not, what if Google and Amazon knock out Roku? The question is, how has Roku done it this for this long? How is Roku still number one?
Right? Yeah, they've been competing with them forever.
Forever. Yeah.
They have 43 million active accounts amidst all that competition.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you have any concern about Xfinity or Comcast at all? Because I know they're trying to enter this market as well. Maybe keeping people from switching over to Roku.
No, because I see it as international. I see the what's remaining as all international. So Comcast isn't really an international.
They've already captured what they're going to capture in the United States.
Yeah, and I think it just starts to get too fragmented. And I think that when it comes to Comcast and NBC, it's it's kind of like Apple. Apple has more cash than any company on earth. I mean, more than banks. And they could not, they're not doing that well in the OTT space, So I think it's a really hard market. And I would look at the person, the company and the people, the management team that has been killing it from day one.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, that leads to our third point, which is that Roku has no brand awareness internationally. I did have a lot of people from the UK in my Twitter mentions saying, what is Roku? So does their domestic success translate internationally?
Or is it all about product?
Or is it all about window?
Sorry, product. I was just going to say, is it all about just, how the product won versus big tech? Can they just do that internationally?
Yeah, so I think that where their entry will be is that they are the cheapest, best performing operating system. So when you look at like TCL, a lot of people are like, oh, TCL is going to dump Roku. It'd be more of a concern that Roku would dump TCL, because when you're a manufacturer, you want, the worst thing that could happen to you is that you choose an operating system that has bugs or that doesn't have all of the channels that people would want. So Roku has the most channels, and it's the most solid, best performing operating system with no bugs. So when you put it into, when you partner with Roku, your smart TVs aren't going to have any issues. And no matter what channel comes out, people are going to be able to get it on your TV. So I think that the smart TV manufacturers need Roku more than the other way around. And that's because they've built a superior product. They have, the operating system, the hardware. They have this Roku channel that's getting better every day. And so when you're entering other markets, you want that bug-free, operating system with the most apps. And Peloton chose Roku. You'll start to notice like a lot of people will choose Roku first for their apps. And it's because like they're the number one and they're the bug-free and they just work very seamlessly.
Okay. Well,
so that would probably be their entry into other markets. Yeah.
Right. And then the last one people have, they say that even though they have a good product, they have no moat. And I know you mentioned before that moat may not even matter in this case, but is there any concern with that? Instead of saying they have no moat, I look at why have they been able to do so well and stave off these huge competitors, Amazon and Google, all along. And the other thing, it goes back to saying like connected TV, ad video on demand is so new, and pay TV ad dollars have not migrated yet. So when you say it doesn't have a moat, my response would be, but it's an incredible pure play in connected TV ads. And I want to be invested in connected TV ads. So I'm going to go with Roku.
Okay.